Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. Welcome to today's Revelwood Workday webinar, Maximizing Return on Investment, Software as a Service Specific Insights. My name is Stan Pinnell. I'm a Senior Account Executive here at Revelwood, and I am joined by my colleague, Dominic Nguyen. I have 20 years plus experience in the FP&A industry. I've been with Revelwood for just over 14 years. And again, I'm joined by Dominic Nguyen, our sales solutions expert, who will be providing you with an overview demo of adaptive planning here in a few moments. Now, I just want to take a few minutes to give you an idea of what to expect today. First, some background on Revelwood. We are a platinum business partner of Workday. And what that means is that we are part of an extremely select group of partners that help you evaluate and implement adaptive planning. We have over 25 plus years of experience and are made up of a diverse team of certified experienced consultants that bring decades of financial operations and system know-how. We've implemented over 150 adaptive customers over the past 5 years, and this continues to grow. Not only that, but we also help existing adaptive customers with model enhancements, integrations, support services, and one-on-one training. I'm aware that some of you may be here because you have an active initiative to get into a cloud FP&A solution, and some of you may just be here to learn or you're just curious. Either way, we greatly appreciate you taking 15 minutes with us in the next few days just to have a quick chat and see what your current challenges are, if you have any feedback, and whether there are resources that we can follow up with. An important thing to know is that the demo today is meant to just really give you a glimpse into what adaptive planning can do. We should be finished in 45 minutes. During that time, everyone will be on mute, but if you have questions, there's a Q&A button down at the bottom. Please enter it there, and we'll try to get to it before the end of the webinar. If not, we'll make sure to get back to you via email in the next couple of days. Also, just wanted to point out some of our current software as a service clients with the company logos that you see in the bottom of the slide. With that, I will pass over the presentation to Dominic, my colleague.
All right, thanks, Stan. My name is Dominic. Thanks for attending today. Our goal here today is really just to kind of walk you through a very powerful solution. My background in corporate FP&A, I started in finance, building Excel models. A lot of the challenges that you guys are facing similarly across, saving time, being more efficient. I've been doing this for quite a long time. I've got a lot of experience, not only with in this industry, but specifically adaptive Workday planning. It's the most comprehensive solution, very easy to use, very scalable, very flexible. As we go through kind of a high-level overview of what we're trying to solve, the key challenge, right? Just being able to be more agile, right? Being able to get information quicker, right? A lot of us are stuck in data silos and being able to, spending too much time manipulating the data. So this is kind of what we see across the industry, but our goal here is to kind of show you how we can improve that process and be more efficient across in the planning process, do more forecasting and so forth. So one of the things that's, very, very important is, being able to get and move towards a modern FP&A platform, right? Enterprise planning, do more strategic analysis, getting information and answering questions. A lot of times, you have executives that come to you and say, hey, what is the impact to the business if we make some modeling changes or different scenarios? It's really about the ability to kind of get that information quicker. So you need an agile platform, agile solution. It's a cloud-based solution. It's always available to users, executives, and get you to be able to drill down information, get that insights very quickly, right? So that's kind of the key, the value around that. Along with that, as an organization, typically we start with the finance organization and helping those organizations, but it is a broad solution that can be deployed and also bring value across other parts of the organization, right? A collaboration between sales, potentially operations, marketing, etc. It's a very flexible solution, so that way we can bring other stakeholders in, give value, and really increase the return on investment, right? The whole total cost of ownership around the solution. Obviously, you can deploy this in a phased approach, which is a very good best practice, but again, very collaborative tool. One of the things just kind of highlight real quick is kind of a little bit about the solution design itself. A lot of you may have, seen some other similar solutions or coming from Excel. One of the technology, benefits is just how we can uh, give you that information in a very easy, flexible manner. It allows you to slice and dice that information. Traditionally, in the past, there used to be what we call the cube technology, where things are kind of segregated out in different types of cubes. Well, giving you more of an elastic cube technology is something that is a huge differentiator within the platform. Some of the outputs or really goals is to accelerate your planning and forecasting, correct? So it's more about taking that time away from inefficient tasks, right? So improving that, bringing value across the organization, so then you can be more strategic, whether it's, at the executive board level or whether it's at an analyst level, kind of freeing up some time to do things that are more valuable. That's kind of the key, right? Being able to give you an environment that does a lot of the heavy lifting, spend more time on the analysis portion of the role. Again, by doing that, you get better decision making across the application. Some of the high level use cases from a SaaS perspective, obviously subscriptions, cohorts, revenue recognition, handling headcount, product profitability, automating reporting and board packs, month-end reporting, kind of the last mile reporting. All of these are just some very, key high-level goals, right? Looking at ARR or, retention or customer acquisition costs, etc. So very, very powerful, very, very solution. Today, you'll take a look at some high-level examples. We're happy to kind of drill into your specific, use cases in your company at a later date. But these are some very good high-level use cases. In a quick customer testimonial, HubSpot, similar challenges with their financial planning, spending too much time, having a lot of errors around that. So they wanted a solution that can help automate the KPIs or key performance indicators, create that one version of the truth, streamline those processes. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this was a great quote, coming from a manual process environment, but in essence, the Workday Adaptive Planning is a lifesaver. A great testimonial. Again, this is one of the hallmarks of this. We have probably 6,500 customers. It's the leader, global leader across the industry. And it's really bread and butter is the ability to do everything with the simple ease of use. And that way we can self-service ourselves. Okay, with that, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I'm going to take you now through a example of the solution. Again, I'll keep it very high level. I may kind of show you different things, but the idea is to kind of give you a peekaboo look as how the solution can help your organization. It is a cloud-based application. So what does that mean? You can access it from pretty much anywhere, different mobile devices. You can have different browsers. We want you to have the flexibility to kind of look at information at the high level. Oftentimes, a dashboard is a very popular area for organizations to see things like, ARR revenue or renewal percentages or looking at contract sizes. We can configure this pretty much any way you want, right? It's that flexible to have dashboards for your executive team, for yourself. And conceptually, what's nice is that you can easily drill down on the information, right? So if you want to look at, who's producing the customer ARR revenue, right? Or where is it coming from? Just the ability to kind of drill on in information and look at that and slice and dice across many different segments of your business is very easy to do, right? Other examples might be just looking at things like scorecarding, target versus actuals, right? Looking at, sales information, what are our win rates, right? What are our contract values? And so the idea behind this is really to give you an environment that is, extremely flexible, right? Obviously, we can configure this pretty much any way you want. And so the dashboards are highly visual, right? Kind of give you a sense of your insights into your business, and it gives you those decision making that is very, very powerful. Another thing that I'm just going to bring up real quick as a quick example is, dashboards are great, but what's also nice is you can model right on the dashboards, right? To more active dashboards that allows you to do some, in this case, sensitivity analysis, is the business going to be a little bit better this month or this quarter, make top level adjustments. Obviously, you can do driver-based planning, forecasting, but the concept here is just to be able to make quick changes on the fly, see its impact to the business very quickly, right? So it's all about efficiency, being able to see and model your business across different scenarios, and so forth. So this is just a quick example. Another thing that's becoming extremely popular in the industry is to be able to do things more from machine learning, predictive capabilities. And that's one of the benefits, right? The trend is not using some of those traditional models like bottoms-up planning. Those are straightforward. Obviously, driver-based, top-down planning and forecasting, but leveraging intelligent planning, right? That's a very key term in the future, is like being able to do things quicker, right? Being able to have forecasts out, across, maybe it's changing some assumptions in drivers. How does that impact our recurring revenue streams? What's the cohort modeling look like, right? How does that impact, and seeing all those various aspects of it. So really that's just a quick example of some quick dashboards. I have some other more specific ones, and we'll spend some time just kind of show you that the flexibility is there to look at things like, ARR types of charts and graphs, or you may want to look at, renewals and retention rates, or kind of just model out different types of bookings and renewals. So kind of get a churn, right? What's your churn rate? But the idea behind this is to give you an environment that brings in all types of information and allows you to make key decisions across your business. A couple concepts that I want to talk about. I think it's very valuable to address this ability to look at and bring in different types of data across, and how you can organize your business. So in this case here, we have this organizational level hierarchy. Think of it as typically we have Excel models that we deal with, right? Each tab has one per department or one per location. We can now help you consolidate all that. So instead of having these templates shipped out across the organization, a lot of time and bottlenecks around that, you can create a hierarchy that's very flexible. This one happens to be, different sales locations. You can have different companies, different entities, different locations, all the different types of currencies. In addition to that, you can have security, right? So if you only have access to one department or one area of the business, we can assign that, right? So that way you can see a P&L by department, or dashboards that's only appropriately for my information. So the consolidation of that is very important, right? So instead of having all those collated and organized, and takes a lot of time, this is all standard to be able to roll up all that data, and it's very flexible to do as well. Talk a little bit about data in general. How do we get data into the system from an actuals perspective? One of the nice things about the solution is it's flexible, right? Very agnostic to systems. So you can bring in data from a lot of different ways and a lot of different systems. Normally, the best practice, we start with the general ledger financial system, right? The ERP, and we can automate that through our integration platform. So we can schedule that in the middle of the morning. We can also bring in data manually. How do we do that? We have Excel flat files. We train you quite a bit on how to do that. It's pretty simple. You can upload data through Excel flat files. Other options may put a file on a network location, pick it up, and automate that way. But the concept is we can bring in multiple data systems, bring in the actuals, and then from there, you can create other scenarios like budgets, rolling forecasts, 3 plus 9, and again, what if scenarios. You maybe want to model a different scenario from, what's the best case scenario if we increase our drivers a certain percent? How does that impact, ARR and bookings and so forth? So a lot of modeling capabilities, but at the end of the day, you can create unlimited scenarios, compare them to each other, and pretty much give you visibility and insight into the business. So very, very powerful. With that, I'll switch gears and show you kind of a high level income statement, right? In this example, we're going to look at, different, in this case, subscriptions across my different departments. But what's nice about this is that we can easily flip-flop and look at things at many perspectives, right? So in this case here, I'll focus on subscription revenue, all my different expenses, margins, EBITDA. It's very flexible to organize your income statement. But again, the power is be able to have one at the total company level, right? So if I wanted to see top level consolidated P&L, right, I can, or I can assign a specific department or location to a budget stakeholder across that. So you got the ability to bring in actuals, you've got the ability to look at the budgets. In this case, we're looking at a high level P&L. So a lot of flexibility around, being able to do things or more advanced things like, maybe you want to see kind of a trending around that, right? Maybe it's subscription, maybe it's a certain, expense account, right? Maybe it's payroll, right? So you can add a lot of flexibility around different charts and graphs and analyze that right on the template as well. Another great example is looking at contracts, right? For the SaaS industry, right? So being able to look at different contracts from, kind of a flow of information from, starting with your beginning ARR, looking at how upsells and churn and how that impact ultimately end result from different types of ARR metrics, growth rates over those. The concept here is that it goes above and beyond just your normal general ledger accounts. It allows you to, analyze metrics, volumes, ramp, sales planning, modeling, etc. So a lot of capabilities around being able to look at those key metrics that are very important. So keeping in mind, this is just an example, but we're able to kind of help you streamline that. We can design this pretty much specifically for your business and help you get the details that you need. Next, this is also a very important concept. It's a different perspective, but this is a summary of your customers and also summary of all your different contract values, different ways how to look at cohorts and modeling. So and again, this is very flexible to design. I've got, counts, the different segments, kind of the product categories, contract values, right? And what's nice about this is that, you can easily, design this specifically, right? I've got a lot of detail around, to ultimately derive in terms of figuring out what the impact to ARR is. So what's nice about this is that you can easily see the calculations or details as far as how this is impacting the business across time, right? You can see that based on that, I can see my cohort and monthly recurring revenue values over time. But conceptually, what we do is we can bring in all this information, organize this in a proper way for you to get the right details for your business, and then bring in the different contract values and really recognize the revenue differently as well. So it's all determined on your use cases and specific need. But one of the nice things about the solution is it's highly flexible to meet those specific business demands. Some of the other things that you may be interested in is just being able to do basic, planning and expense planning or data entry across the information. So we'll come back to looking at, in this case here, we'll look at kind of a traditional planning in terms of what does a budget stakeholder do. So if you notice that I'm back looking at my high level P&L or income statement, right? and you can easily enter data right directly into the areas that are provided. So this is simulating I'm a budget stakeholder, right? I need to plan, a certain expense category, and I can do things like I might want to copy this down all the way to the total year. Nothing fancy there. I think additionally you can do some things like advance, values of maybe I want to increase this by a certain percent. So just more of the kind of blocking, tackling of budgeting and planning. I think a lot of out of the box capabilities allows you to do that. Um, or if you're provided a max value, so let's say you were given a mandate of only 100,000 for the year, you can do that and break it back proportionately or based on the prior year actual seasonality or other factors, right? So in this case here, I can easily do that, right? So very easy to learn some of the basic functionality around planning if you're happy with it. This is kind of where you can have one user, one budget stakeholder. You can have multiple users interacting with the system at once, right? So in this case here, you can make those traditional changes, but what happens if there's like a really big anomaly, right? So somebody's inputting information that kind of stands out. One of the key best practices is to add a note, right? Kind of explain why, right? Why is this higher than normal, right? So these notes are very easy to, similar to Excel notes, with the exception that they actually flow over to the reports, right? So you'll see them within the line of a report. So adding a lot of collaboration and keeps the thread of all that. So as well as if you look at this information and you want to see kind of the changes that occur, right? An audit trail of the information is, very, very powerful, right? Why? Because you get to see, who made those changes when oftentimes, there's delays and or you take vacations or there's new employees that come in, tracking all the changes, and you can do reporting off of the audit trail as well. So very easy to do. And last thing I want to talk a little bit about is, in this case here, maybe, you are planning at a level. It could be vendors or it could be different. This case, it's a legal expense, but again, maybe you are working with multiple firms and you can break down the expense, right? Let's say you wanted to spend a certain value, but you need to detail out. And what's nice is it doesn't break the natural account. So that way you get the level of granularity that you need, but still have that flexibility. And it's also specific to different end users. So this particular budget holder may need to do that on that general ledger account, and another one might need to do it in a different account. So that way it's very easy to do. And lastly, I'm drilling into a salary, in this case, a salary expense for the month. This is also tied to our personnel planning. So if you notice that you can control the role and security around being able to see a salaries expense for my department or get to see the individual employees, or you can lock that down. So again, a lot of flexible security options around being able to do different types of planning. But overall, these are some very basic it's very basic planning and budgeting techniques that help you streamline your processes. One of the things that I definitely want to introduce you to is the ability to kind of look at assumptions, right? So you may have, renewal type assumptions, or you may have, different types of, so here's kind of an example of an assumption area where I can come to. I have different examples here: personnel assumptions, you know, customer ramp, all that kind of stuff. Well, you can have global assumptions that drive some of the modeling around that. So it's also security based. So that way you can, hide certain assumption tables if you need to. But I've got a lot of examples here, but just kind of keeping in mind that we've got, examples from personnel assumptions that help drive personnel planning or different rates, right? So in this case here, I've got different rates for assumptions, whether it's actuals or whether it's budget. So it kind of gives you some ability to kind of drive some of this information throughout the application. With that, I think we have about 10 minutes, 15 minutes left. I want to move and kind of switch gears a little bit. But keeping in mind that is really just the ability to kind of plan and forecast. Obviously, we can bring an additional level of detail for you, but I wanted to kind of switch gears and talk a little bit about reporting. So one of the things that is very popular in the SaaS industry is kind of have a similar cohort report, right? So this is an example of that where we can look at it from total company, or we can look at it from a department perspective. We can also look at it from different versions or scenarios. But the concept here is very easy to build different types of reports, whether it's a cohort report or kind of a simple variance report that allows you to kind of look at things from variance analysis, maybe kind of scenario analysis. So I'll bring up another very popular report, which is our traditional variance report. And one of the things that you'll notice is that you'll see here in a second, the variance reports allow you to look at things like time, different versions, right? You can put highlighted filters across. Earlier, I talked about the notes, so you can see that these notes can be very highly collaborative, so that way you can have people contribute to an issue. Why is certain expense over? You can see them within the thread. It keeps track of that. So when you put them in the budgeting process, it automatically flows over to the reports themselves. And these reports, one of the key benefits or value proposition is really about ease of use, right? So I'm in actually report writer, and I can easily drag and drop elements over, right? So I can bring in multiple metrics or anything that is I want to analyze on my report. The benefit is it's all drag and drop. All you need to really have is a mouse, right? There's no scripting. There's no technical skills required. And that's the benefit, is user adoption, making it self-service, allow people to drag and drop, build their own reports. There's just a lot of different examples around different types of reports that we can analyze, but giving you kind of a quick example of that, I mean, we can have reports that line up different scenarios from, best case, worst case, and seeing its impact. We can also do predictive type reporting where you have forecasts that are using predictive values versus your budget and your forecast, and really give you a lot of flexibility, insight into how you can analyze the data. Another thing just to kind of bring up is the ability to look at and model your business in many different ways. So in this example here, I've got my departments, I've still got my customers, and I can have products, and I could budget or forecast. The key here is if I wanted to look at, revenue by product, right? It's very similar to what we normally see in pivot tables. You can able to slice and dice this at the level of detail that you are required. Earlier, I mentioned that elastic cube technology, right? It's just very easy to get that level of granularity. Obviously, this revenue planning is an example. And a lot of times we spend a good amount of time understanding your requirements, helping you design that appropriately. So the different types of revenue planning, as well as another very big popular area is planning for headcount. So in this example, we're going to take a look at headcount planning, right? These columns are, again, just an example. You get name, title, right? Start, end dates, right? Health benefits, raises, commissions, bonuses. So really the concept here is that a lot of organizations will just take, HR system, bring it in, populate that. And from there, you can start planning additional headcount. So as a budget user, we can help guide you through in case, I wanted to hire a new accountant, right? And based on the state that you have, it's going to calculate those taxes for you, right? It could be a, full-time employee, or they can be a part-time employee that is seasonal. So then, again, going through this really allows you to easily, populate your appropriate planning for the headcount level. In this example here, we've added a potential new hire, right? It's going to help calculate that and link that back up to the P&L. And again, if you wanted to kind of see what those calculations or expenses across that particular employee, you get a full picture of, all their salaries expense, all their healthcare expense, everything. So it's very, very intuitive for you to get that level of granularity, right? And this is kind of tied again to our assumptions. So we may have assumptions that allow you to see things from a high level, like top level assumptions that say give everybody a raise of X%, right? We can come here and say, give everybody a raise of 10% across the board. And this is very powerful, right? So global assumptions that will now calculate across every single employee, every single department, and get you summarized information. It's that quick. You can also plan down to a very detailed, in this example, we've got assumptions that are kind of done across, different territories, different currencies. We have a lot of international organizations and operations, but global assumptions, drivers is a concept that is something that you can easily configure to, have appropriately for your business. With that, I'm going to switch gears and now talk a little about kind of the month-end reporting process. I think it's important to, once everything is in here and you're able to get all your planning and remodeling and reporting done. We talked a little bit about ad hoc reporting, but one of the things that we didn't mention that I want to kind of highlight here is the value behind what happens at the end of the month, right? You close the books, you've done all your information. Now it's about pushing out information that is appropriate for. Typically, we see a lot of board books, reporting packages for the executive team, whether it's investors, external board members, et cetera, banks. The value behind this is that we're able to kind of take this process. Oftentimes, it's a very lengthy process, right? It could be many days, weeks, or organizations have kind of spent many, many hours building up a sample Excel file similar to this. So assume this is yours, right? These are your templates. These are your information. The exception here is that all of this now can be streamlined. So what we do is we can take that information and map all this information. So the question is, well, how do I map this? Well, in this example, you can see that those blue highlighted cells are what's mapped to your organization. So if I wanted to map, I don't know, we'll take travel entertainment here, right? Map that. And so keep all the formatting that is, prevalent, that is appropriate for your organization, but I can quickly update that information with a simple click. Well, that's really not the value. It's not that important to update one particular account. Really, it's about once you close the month, right, and you move this forward. This case here, if you notice, I moved this to the very next month. I've closed April. I click the button. It rolls everything forward, right? It keeps all the formatting, but with that simple click, I'm now taking that, pulling in all that information, all my reports, all my charts and graphs. This entire Excel workbook is updated. It's all about saving time, right? Early in the presentation, I talk about being agile, being efficient, saving time. So now you're able to kind of switch the pendulum a little bit, right? Spend more time on analysis, right? You don't want to spend all that time on the data manipulation and things that kind of bog you down. There's no value in those tasks. It's about taking this information and gaining value. Another example with that is also being able to do kind of a nice, pretty board book, right? You can have a nice consolidated income statement, or if you've got other dynamic variables that need to be updated based on the refreshed data. So for example, you may have revenue account and you want to see the increase or decrease the revenue. You just have to worry about the verbiage within that. So again, all these dynamic variables, this entire Word document can be updated along with kind of a nice, pretty PowerPoint presentation that gets updated. So really, if you look at what we're helping you with is an environment that is very powerful, very flexible, right? Very configurable. It's very scalable as well. So being able to work with the volumes of data, the many different systems, the integration platform is all part of the solution. And then give you an environment that is flexible to do all types of planning and modeling and forecasting, along with all the dashboarding in analytics and reporting, right? Both from an ad hoc perspective and both from a month-end perspective. So really what we want to help you is that taking you from that manual environment, bring you into a platform, right? A platform that helps streamline your processes, simplifies your life, but most importantly, reduce the errors, save a lot of time, and again, get you to a strategic thinking, right? Be more agile. So with that, I'd like to kind of stop there. It was a quick overview. We're happy to help with additional demonstrations and detail, but I do want to open it up for questions and pass it back to the team in case there's any specific questions I can answer.
Okay, thank you, Dominic, for that very good demonstration of the Workday Adaptive Planning platform. We don't have any questions in the queue, so with that, I will go ahead and conclude today's webinar. I wanted to thank everyone that attended. I hope this was very informational and helpful. As I said at the start of the webinar, we will be following up with the attendees, and hopefully we can schedule a quick 15-minute call just to gather your feedback and see if we can't help you out if you have further interest in evaluating or any additional questions or information you may need regarding the Workday Adaptive Planning platform. So thank you again for attending, and that concludes today's webinar. Thanks.